Just a quick update, and I know the Economic Development Committee, has met last week and could speak a little bit to this, but I'm just providing a bit of an update and just seeking permission to continue along the course that I've been following. I've been receiving some information from a local citizen, a very active, positive citizen who's president of the chamber. They get a lot of things done here, Stuart Seville, and so he's been really doing some really neat stuff with respect to a few projects. I'm not going to speak to any other project other than the Weyerhaeuser property, since I've had that file. So Mr. Seville had been in contact with a few people, and in fact, Mr. Seville has been in contact with Weyerhaeuser directly, and Weyerhaeuser seems to have changed their position with respect to what their recent position, i.e. a couple of years ago, position is, and they seem to be much more favorable in transferring land at a much more favorable price. And I'm not going to get into the details of that, but there's a significant savings. After having a meeting at the AGM of the chamber and also speaking to the ECDEV committee, Mr. Seville's been speaking to me on the phone, and in fact, I'd never met him, so had a meeting with him Friday morning and exchanged a lot of good ideas. And so what he's done at that point, realizing that land would be transferred to the municipality, he transferred his contacts that he's made. And in fact, they're the same contacts as we have had. So had a conversation with the senior real estate manager of Weyerhaeuser fairly late Friday afternoon. You have to know that there's a 3-hour time delay between Washington State and here. And so, but had a great chat with her and talked a little bit about what their position is now and what our position is. And I think that we're very close to reaching an agreement with respect to the transfer of the land, meeting all of our conditions. I had indicated to the individual, as I did with the transfer of the power plant, that, I had asked a little, if they can see their way into maybe doing a little bit better. And she indicated that she would be bringing that to the powers that be. So I'm just informing council that file, which has been kind of ongoing now for probably around 12, 13 years, is now getting very active and is looking very favorable. So once I have a little bit more detail, of course, council would have to approve any tentative agreement. So I would then be bringing more specifics to council, but I would indicate to council that based on the conversation now, it's very favorable.
Thank you, Jay. I'll just do a quick round table just to see if there's any questions or comments. Conseiller Yvon?
Yeah, thank you very much, Jay, for your comment. And I do agree. I think you should be the forefront of the discussion. I think you should be the manager of making sure that the procedure is done and that you be the spokesperson for the council. And that's what I would like to see remain as such. So I thank you for your report.
Councillor Chris?
No real comments except for the fact that I was on the Economic Development Committee way back when, and that was under discussion then, and we are going back years and years. So good. I hope it comes to fruition.
Thank you. Councillor Rowley?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm also in favor of Jay spearheading this project, which he's done already. So yes, just keep on going. Thank you.
Conseiller Leo?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jay, for your report. Totally in agreement. Merci.
Councillor Dan?
Thank you. Good work, Jay. Keep up the good work, and I'm confident with you at the lead. We'll get to the end of this thing finally.
Conseiller Denis?
Yeah, thank you, Jay. Good job. The only thing I'd like to see is more involvement from the mayor on this, and she should be kept apprised of what's going on. I think it would be just a proper thing to do. That's my only comment.
Conseillère Lise? Conseillère Lise?
Oui, mais écoute, ça me prend, faut que je change, là. Je le ferme, je le rouvre. OK. Ben moi, je suis complètement contente de voir que cette filière-là, finalement, qu'elle prend un petit peu d'avant parce que, comme Jay a dit, ça fait des années depuis le début, depuis que le moulin il a décidé de fermer, puis qu'ils ont fait ce qu'il y avait à faire. Puis, je veux dire, je sais qu'au début, c'était la question du coût pour nettoyer, parce que c'est un industriel, puis évidemment qu'il y aurait d'ouvrages à faire là-dessus, mais cette propriété-là, direct en rentrant dans la ville, dans le cours de West Nipissing, la ville, il y a millions de choses qu'on pourrait faire avec. Peut-être pas millions, on va dire beaucoup. Il y a beaucoup de choses qu'on pourrait faire avec. Alors, I'm glad that this file, which has been open and which I think when Jay was there since the beginning and been following up on it, I think it's great, and if something can happen, it's double great. So I wish to be informed, and I kind of agree with Dennis that the mayor should be know what's going on. So, yeah, go for it, Jay. Continue.
Okay, thank you everyone for being receptive, because it's definitely a worthwhile project for the municipality of West Nipissing. I would also ask that we keep the subject matter for Warehouser on a monthly basis on our agenda, whether we have an update or no update. Past council, it was one of their priorities to acquire this land. And for whatever reason, you know, with the officials or the individuals with the company, I think there had been some changeover whatsoever. It didn't pan out. And it was quite exciting. And I have to say that all members of the ECDEV committee, when we met last week on the 26th, everyone was really receptive and concurred with the plan of the municipality moving forward to acquire this land. I know that the individual that has been proactive in doing the liaison with the company has also had various discussions with our local MP pertaining to funding for development. But even there, moving forward, before getting funding, we still need to own the property so we can contemplate, you know, a feasibility study or whatever. So I also would appreciate if there'd be opportunities that I can assist based on the information that I have, and also working with the key stakeholders in the community, and along with Jay and also Stéphane. I think we all have the same goal, the same objective. So thank you so much. And we'll make sure that it stays on the radar, on the agenda at least once a month for updates. And this way, the committee members of ECDEV can also be kept in the loop of the progress pertaining to this file. Okay, so we move on to the next committee, which is Public Works, Travaux Publics, and I'll pass it on to the chair, Conseiller Yvon.
Merci, Madame Mairesse. We have one item on the agenda here, and it's a update to repairs to Wolseley Bay Bridge, and it was brought forward by Denis Senecal. So Denis, would you wish to elaborate a little bit on the issue?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to mention that I'm getting a lot of feedback from Wolseley Bay, and I think the mayor also is getting feedback. And the residents are sort of getting impatient. They're not hearing any news of either good or bad. They don't know what's going on. I think we have 5 or 6 cottages, or not cottages, but businesses that are anxious and they don't know where they're going. And I think the last meeting I attended with Jay and May 2019. So that's been a while. So the residents are pretty
Councillor
anxious.
Denis,
And we did have a
Councillor
meeting with
Denis,
the
Councillor Denis.
Minister of Infrastructure with myself and Mayor Joanne.
Okay.
And I'll let her say more on that. But I just think we need to put it on the table. We need to make a decision here. We're representing our residents in that area. I know there's not much appetite to spend the money, but we can't leave our residents stranded out there, and we need to make a move somehow. I know with COVID and all that, the money is tight, but we need to at least let them know what our plan is. Do we move the bridge? Do we leave it there? So they would appreciate, I guess, some news. And my second point is that across from the bridge, their road is falling apart. We need to do something there. Hopefully we can get some sort of machinery in there to fix the road a little bit, because they're telling me that they haven't had maintenance on the road for 3 years. I don't know if that's correct, but that's what I'm hearing. And we should try and be a little more flexible for our residents. I think they deserve more than that. They're paying higher taxes out there, and they have lodges. And so I'm glad this is up on the radar for now. And maybe the mayor would like to say a few words on our meeting with Laurie Scott there from Infrastructure, or whoever's next. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Well, there's two issues when I see Wolseley Bay. Nature Trail Bridge Road, that's one issue, and Nature Trail Bridge, which is a capital project. Just a quick update pertaining to the Minister of Infrastructure, Laurie Scott. I really want to thank Alyssa, thank Melanie for their contribution and getting us ready for that delegation with the minister. We had all the information pertaining to the history, pertaining to the actual condition, and what the challenges are for the individuals that are using that bridge. We know that the investment of $800 to $1 million, when we have $400,000 in the bank, is not going to cut it if we don't get any funding whatsoever, unless staff can come up with another strategy or another solution. It didn't seem too promising when we met with Minister Scott pertaining to funding, because the dollars that had been received so far for infrastructure was already allocated. And some are saying that the money has been invested with projects from last year. So when the second round of infrastructure funding is announced, then this council is going to have to identify what are going to be the priorities that you want to move forward with. Is it going to be Nature Trail Bridge, or is it going to be another priority in West Nipissing? So that's in a nutshell the update pertaining to Minister Scott. I did also communicate with our MPP and our MP as well, so they know exactly the request that was made. But like Conseiller Denis is saying, a lot of people are really frustrated with the actual condition of the road, and we need to know what staff can do or what can be done to address that issue. And I do know that they've been either sending a lot of emails to support at West Nipissing, sending emails to the councillors, sending emails to myself, and they're asking for maintenance, for upkeeping of the road. They're saying right now it's a lot of hardship, and that they fear that it becomes more challenging and that it can create damage to their vehicles. So as Chair of Public Works, I don't know if we have the answer for that. And twofold, they still want to be kept in the loop of the progress pertaining to the bridge. And I don't know what we're going to be doing, because, the clock is ticking and it's a race against time. It's not just the abutment that needs to be replaced, but the decking had a lifespan of 10 years, and that was identified either at the end of 2016-17 So we're gonna be hitting the midpoint of the lifespan of that decking. And if we don't have a strategy on what we're gonna do, it means that that bridge in 10 years from where it was assessed, it's not gonna even be usable at that time for the individuals that are operating a tourist lodge operation and for people that have a cottage on the other side or that they live there on a permanent basis.
Thank you, Madame Mayoress. Jay, would you want to elaborate a bit on this?
Well, I can to a certain degree. I think that certain parts or bits and pieces were said by all accurately by several. Right now, what you have is funding for about half of what the bridge would cost. And that the past councils have made a decision that either the residents affected by that bridge would agree to, under a local improvement, to pick up the other half, or we'll try and find some assistance with some government funding to conduct the necessary expenses. I don't think there's another option that is engineeringly feasible other than what is being proposed to us by the experts. Let me think here. I'm drawing a blank. So there'd be that, and then those options always because these things that the government puts forward to us are always kind of competitive based and priorities based. So they have one fund and they ask you to kind of have a shovel ready kind of project, and so that's a council decision, and we'll keep bringing this one back as an option. With respect to the maintenance, I am told that the maintenance people are going to be going there either this week or early next week with smaller vehicles and making the repairs using smaller machinery that can get over there. And so that, we'll do what we can. It is I believe, a Class 6 road. In fact, I only believe it's maintained it's in the summertime, and really, there's only a short portion of it that's going up the hill. That being said, we used to provide a minimum level of maintenance with our trucks prior to it being load posted. And Sean, our manager of public works, has indicated to me that they will be going over and having a look and seeing what they can do with the equipment that they have. That's all I have for now.
Thank you, Jay, for the report. I do agree as chair. We do need funding to help us do whatever needs to be done to that bridge, and hopefully with the government, when funding is available, we'll be able to proceed with that, and that's how I feel about it. I think we do need funding, and let's hope that in time that funding will be made available. And again, we'll be sending someone there, like Jay has reported, to do what we can with respect to the road. I see Madame Lise Senecal has her hand up. Lise, if you want to say something. You'll have to put your mic on, Lise. Put your mic on.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yvon. I do have a question. So the bridge is good for how long now? Like, what's the remaining time for that bridge to be able to operate or have a sign that it cannot be used? So anybody can answer that question for me?
I don't have the exact date with it. I know that it had a life expectancy when the deck was built in 2010, and I believe that there might be another 5 years, but I would have to confirm that. And that's basically just a theoretical life expectancy. I don't know, the bridge would be inspected every 2 years as legislatively required. And could be less, but it could be a lot more as well. The issue with the bridge is not the deck, is the abutments to the bridge, and what it's sitting on is what the concern is. And so I hadn't heard any concern with respect to the decking at this point, but I don't have that in front of me. I'll get that from Sean.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
With all due respect, I think, Mr. Chair, you should go around table of alphabetical order like the other committees. And just my point.
okay. If you so do wish, we'll do that, Leo.
Okay.
I'll go to Councillor Fisher.
So I just 2 questions just to remind me, that bridge, 10 tons or 5 tons it'll hold, and we have $400,000 in dedicated reserve. Is that those two items correct?
That's right. The tonnage, I'm not
Or
sure.
Is it a 5 or a 10-ton limit on that?
It is a 5-ton.
It's
The
a
weight-
5-ton bridge.
The weight reduction is 5.
Thank you, Chris. Councillor Larrabee. Rolly?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The lifespan on the decking, there was a mention of this. It's very hard to determine, like Jay said. It all depends on the upkeep of that bridge. If it's swept, if it's pressure washed in the spring, your lifespan will be a lot longer than if it's not. So as far as the bridge, they're like you said, they're inspected every 2 years, and if there's any change, then they are noted. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Larrabee. Councillor Leo?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I agree. I guess we're shovel ready if we ever get funding to do the bridge, and I guess we have to go to get funding from the feds and the province, or either one. And I think we have to wait until we get the funding to go ahead with it. I agree.
Thank you, Councillor Manette, and then I'll go to Councillor Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question. So there was the third option whereby the cost, the 400,000 that would cost over and above with the 400,000 we have, could be passed on to the ratepayers. How does that work?
I'll leave that to Mr. Vargo. Jay?
Perhaps I would give it to Elisa with respect to any financing agreement or anything like that. But basically, it would be kind of like a local improvement charge where every resident using or benefiting from the bridge would pay a share, and then we would amortize that loan over a period of time, probably 10 years or so, to minimize the impact. We did broach that subject with folks about a year and change ago. Obviously, there wouldn't be an appetite for that, right? For the reasons, and politically, I mean, publicly, that Councillor Senecal had stated, is that, they're taxpayers and so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. So, so yeah, that's how that would work. I don't know, Elisa, if you have any more technical information you would give me.
No,
Lisa?
that's the short answer for now, that it would be very similar to a local improvement. The only thing people have to be aware, like I said, is that it also will include a little bit of interest component that's sort of built into what that amount is if we amortize it over 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. But yeah, you summed it up.
Thank you, Elisa. Okay, Dan, is that it? That's all for your question?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Okay, Councillor Denis, if you wanted to say anything else?
Yes, I do. Thanks, Mr. Chair. I think that for Councillor Chris, he wants to know, I think it's a 17-ton bridge that was downgraded to 5 tons. And I'd like to ask Jay if at the last meeting in May in 2019, the residents wanted the bridge to remain in place versus moving the bridge on a couple of feet or whatever to move the decking. And I think we had said at that time that you would go back to the engineering firm and get some costing or whatever opinions from them to see both options. So maybe we could eventually have a report on both options and see which is best for them, and at least we get something going here.
Sure. My recollection is slightly different, Councillor Senecal, in that I thought there was absolutely zero appetite for them for a variety of reasons, including boat launch and so on and so forth, for the original design. And so our manager of public works has been working with that engineering firm, and the only option I believe that is still on the table right now is one that suits their needs, which is where the bridge is now. and looking at at that. The other issues that were coming into play were the timing in getting permissions from M&R to actually do the work, and I think that there's been some good movement on that front as well. But I'll ask Sean for a more detailed report so that all of these things could be confirmed and there'd be more specifics to it.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, Jay, I think they did were in favor of not moving it. That was the overwhelming opinion, I guess. Okay, thanks for that.
Thank you, Denis. We now go to Conseillère Lise. Ton micro, Lise. Ton micro.
Oh, thank you. Short memory. My comment was about, I think the question has been answered when the Conseiller Dan asked it, but Jay mentioned that they were maybe willing to cost sharing, whatever you call it. So I guess if it's not an option, and we need to know along the bridge, and at some point of time we have to find a way to replace that bridge, because there's a few business, and I mean, people need to go through their business, and is it their responsibility of them to replace the bridge? So I think I would be waiting for the report, Jay, that you mentioned, that you got to look into it, and we'll go from there. But it's gonna have to, at some point of time, come to a point that we make a decision on that, like anything else. And hopefully there's money that's going to be available soon for us to be able to proceed with that project, that it's been in the book for a while now, and it's that's it. That's the only thing I have to say.
Merci, Elise. Mayor Joanne, would you like to?
Yeah. I just want to clarify something, and to Jay, did you mention a while ago when I gave a summary that the information I shared was inaccurate? Maybe I heard inaccurately.
You heard inaccurately. I didn't comment on your comments at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the reason that I made reference to the decking is during your absence and working closely with staff and gathering the information, the issue with the actual bridge, which is basically a Billy Bridge, is the abutment. And there was also a lifespan that was identified for the decking. So what I'm just saying is that entire bridge, which now has a weight capacity of 5 tons, which they don't have access to fire, they don't have access to delivery of oil and propane, they don't have access to heavy equipment crossing over, is creating issues. But you know what? I know the challenges that they have. I know the financial challenges that we have as a municipality. And what I'm saying is that strategically, there's going to have to be some type of conclusion on what direction, who will cooperate in what direction. And I know I've been telling people, you know what? There's only so much dollars that we have to invest in infrastructure. We have 35 bridges, 1,500 kilometers of roads. We have water and sewer, we have drainage, and we have so much as far as need, but there's only so much that we can invest, and depending on the priorities as well. So, yeah, I would definitely be interested in finding out if the bridge stays there, what would be the actual cost, and that we need to pursue the matter by speaking with the stakeholders that use the bridge so we can have a strategy. I do know that when I spoke with our MPP, or MP, they didn't see an application for West Nipissing for the first round of infrastructure. So I just want to make sure that for the next round of infrastructure that we keep it under our radar so we don't miss out on the opportunity, whether it's Nature Trail Bridge or another project.
Merci, Madame Mairesse. Is there any other comments or Thank you very much, everyone. This now concludes my portion of the agenda, and now moving back to Madame Edis.
Okay. The next committee, Service Communautaire Community Services, Conseil Léo, would you volunteer to chair?
Okay, yes, madam. Yes, Madam Mayor. The community services, okay, would be a facility to reopening the plan. I guess Stefan can elaborate on the issue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As provided to council via a memo in your packages, I'll just run through some of the facility reopening recommendations that are being made. As you'll notice, we've staggered the dates of the reopening for certain facilities to allow staff to properly get the facilities ready for our residents, and to also allow us an opportunity to ensure that staff are fully trained in COVID-related health and safety matters as well. So we're recommending that we allow our community halls to accept bookings primarily for funeral receptions and weddings. These receptions will have to obviously follow provincial and health unit guidelines. We could also look at other types of events on a case-by-case basis, but what we're recommending right now is limiting that to funeral receptions and weddings. The community halls listed are the Hall of Fame room, the Cache Bay Community Center, only the large hall, because the small one is not conducive to accepting many people in there, and the Verner Arena Hall, and the Sturgeon River House Museum. The reason the Marcel Noël Hall is not listed is because our COVID assessment center is still operating within that hall, and we foresee that happening over the next several months. So that hall would not be made available at this time. We also look at the Complex Fitness Center with a reopening date of October 5th, followed the following week with the Sturgeon Falls Arena on October 13th, and reopening of our complex pool on Monday, October 19th. As stated in the memo, all facilities will reopen with stringent health and safety protocols as per provincial and health unit guidelines. We'll train all staff accordingly, and modifications will be completed at all facilities prior to reopening. We're also going to make sure we have a very detailed and aggressive communication plan that will go out as soon as council provides direction to ensure our residents are aware of the reopenings and the protocols and guidelines associated with each facility. Now, that's the reopening side. We're also recommending that a couple of our facilities remain closed. One being the Sturgeon Falls River House Museum, with the exception of the hall rental for, again, funeral receptions and weddings mainly. Rationale behind that is fall is upon us. Schools are restarting. We don't see a great influx of tourists coming in the fall, regardless of the year. It's going to be even more so this year because of the pandemic. So we'd like a bit more time to look at what the museum can offer moving forward and put together an operational plan and bring that back to council. We'd like to prepare that revised operational plan in consultation with our Museum Advisory Committee. The committee has not met in quite some time. So I think it's important to engage our committee members and look at recommendations moving forward. The other facility we're recommending remain closed until further notice is the Verner Arena and Fitness Center. The fitness center is basically tied to the operation of the Verner Arena. We've looked at different ways of how potentially we could reopen the fitness center, but we don't think it's feasible to do so until such time as the arena reopens fully. We have to ensure everyone's safety with the fitness center. We'd have to make sure that we have full-time staff during fitness center hours to ensure contact tracing, to ensure only members are allowed, and bookings are made. And we don't think that that's conducive until such time as the arena fully reopens and we have staff in the building.
Before I
As
go
for
to
the-
round table,
As for the arena portion, we'd like to start mid-October with the Sturgeon Falls Arena and see how our local user groups are going to have as far as ice requests and demand. Once we get an opportunity to allow our user groups to book ice and the leagues to restart mid-October, by the end of October, early November, we are going to have a better indication of how much ice is going to be required for minor hockey, for figure skating and whatnot. Once we are at a point where we think that one facility is not enough ice to supply all of our local user groups, and we're confident that we can have an increase in ice demand that is financially feasible for us to open a second arena, then we'll come back to council and recommend that. So last but not least is we're recommending that user fees remain the same, that we don't see any increases for ice rental rates, for memberships and whatnot. And like the memo states, we will do a full user fee review and come back with recommendations for council as part of the 2021 budget deliberation process.
before I go to round table, thank you, Steph, for your report. At the pool, will there be aquarobics with instructors or because I was asked that, I'm not
So
sure.
we're looking at having some limited programming. I think that what is going to be difficult to host is public swims and family swims. So we're going to start off gradually. We're going to have daytime programming. We will look at bringing aquafit programs. Again, we're unsure of the amount of members that are going to be coming back to these facilities in short order. It might evolve into what the numbers we had before, but yeah, we will look at programming. One thing that we will not be undertaking at the start with the swimming pool are swimming lessons. They're difficult to do with the distancing and whatnot. So, but yeah, to your answer, Councillor Millette, we will look at some programming.
Is that the same like with all the arenas and social distancing? Is that so much percent of the capacity will be allowed for wedding and funerals?
Yeah, same thing. Arenas, indoor activities are capped at 50 people maximum. So again, we're working with our local user groups, especially the West Nipissing Lynx and minor hockey, where they're used to seeing a fair number of spectators in the stands. So and parents watching their kids on the ice. So we'll have to work through those protocols and guidelines with all our user groups.
Thank you, Councillor Yvon. Any question? Councillor Yvon, you have any question? Oh, you're on mute.
Okay, thank you, Councillor, Mr. Chair. To Steph, it's certainly a task for sure to do what is going to be done here, and I do understand what's involved. I guess if, for example, if you open the Complex Fitness Center, there actually has to be a member of our staff there all the time to make sure the machines are clean and wiped down after use. I don't know if that was brought into your any of the ideas brought forward by your staff, but I am somewhat concerned of the costs involved, and it's going to be complex and it's going to be hard to achieve certain things. But I know our staff will be well trained and will be able to do what they can. So I wish you good luck on this, and hopefully it works out. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
If I
Thank
can
you, Councillor
comment
Yvon.
on that, Mr. Chair, to your point, Councillor Jaheim, you're absolutely right, where we'll see some obstacles, we'll see some challenges, but I think that staff have put a lot of thought into this. We want to make sure that we remain safe, not only for the public, but for our staff as well. It'll be a learning curve, there's no doubt. We do have protocols and procedures that we will be putting in place to ensure all facilities are properly disinfected and cleaned. And there will be probably additional costs compared to what we've seen in the past. We're recommending that we reopen these facilities and it'll be trial and error. And if we see in 6 weeks from now that it's just not feasible or things aren't working out or people aren't ready to come back, and we're running into greater challenges than expected, at that point, we might come back to council with different recommendations. But I think if council supports this, we will put our best foot forward and reopen some of our facilities so that our residents can enjoy them. The other thing I forgot to mention is reopening our facilities in October will also give our local groups, and I'm looking at more so as arenas, a bit more time to get ready. The other thing it does too is it allows the schools to reopen, and it gives us a bit of lead time to see if we're going to see an increase in cases and whatnot, and just to gauge the reopening of schools to see how it potentially could affect our community moving forward. So that was another part of our thought process in putting this reopening facility plan together.
Thank you, Steph. Councillor Quest?
So I'm quite in agreement with all that. But let me play the devil's advocate. What, you know, we don't necessarily want to wait for the province. So what would be our criteria to shut them back down in terms of a local outbreak, for example? Like, we've been very lucky, but let's say, you know, what is the threshold where we say, okay, enough, we've shut these things down again?
So,
Like,
if I can, Mr. Chair, answer that question. I guess Councillor Fisher will be in close consultation and communication with our local health officials and the health unit. And if we see an outbreak within our community, obviously we'll be reaching out to these health officials and seeking advice and going by their recommendation. And as soon as our health officials are making recommendation that maybe we should pull back on facility reopening, we'll come back to council and advise as such.
You okay, Chris?
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Councillor
okay.
Rowley? Councillor Rowley? Councillor Rowley? Are you there? I guess not. Councillor Denny?
Will do, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Stefan, just curious, is the Lynx League going to play this year?
I've had several contact with the team ownership, and the league is currently working on a return to play plan and policy that they'll be presenting to us. They have provided information to their league or to their teams that it's the league's wish to start back in early October, but there's so many variables attached to that it's the date is a floating date right now, but they are trying to get a league a season in again. So we're in direct communication with the team ownership, and they're keeping us apprised as far as soon as they get the information. So the plan is yes, that the league is still planning to have a season. The timelines are still unsure, and what that season is going to look like is also unsure. They realize that they'll have to follow guidelines and limit the amount of spectators that can attend the games. But they're saying that they still think that they'll be able to have a season put off. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
It's, my apologies, Councillor Dan. I jumped you, sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Dan.
Oh, thank you. That's all right. Good plan. Good plan, Stefan. That's a good, slow approach. It's appropriate because I've been approached by some young people this week, young people that don't know if they're going to go back to college or university, and they're looking for things to do. And the only thing that I'm a little worried about is one of the things that they've seen in the States is that when they did open up the the gyms and stuff, people got they got into a zone, and they never basically abide to the to the stringent approaches that they had in place. So I hope that, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you did say that we're going to have people that are going to be in the room, in the weight room, and we'll be monitoring that.
As much as we possibly can, Councillor, we certainly will. We do have also cameras within the gym area. So, we'll keep a close eye on that and ask that for everyone's cooperation. Again, if we run into some significant issues at some point, hopefully it doesn't get to that, but it might come back to council for further recommendations. But we anticipate that those that are avid pool and gym patrons are going to respect our new rules and regulations, and we're anticipating cooperation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dan. Councillor Elise.
Thank you very much, Conseiller, Mr. Chair, I should say. Just a comment before Councillor Dan. I hope the next time I forget you, you'll be as lenient that you are. So because I don't do it on purpose. You know what? I think like everybody else, I think safety first when it comes to that. I've been having a few emails, especially for a couple of people that cannot wait for the fitness room to be open. I mean, I wish there's going to be a way for us to open sooner than later. I know there's need maintenance there for the whatever hours, but maybe even thinking maybe Stefan of short time, a little bit in the afternoon and then a little bit at like 4 to 12, for example, like during that time, like 5 to 7 or 8 to give opportunity to people to get back on their training routine, which I think a lot of people are. I understand the challenge that you have with that, obviously. So that's the rest, I guess. And I know you're doing it just for safety, and I appreciate that. You have to do what you have to do, right? It's a very different situation that we are in. But I mean, is there any way, I know we received money from COVID, that we could have somebody that work to make sure that they clean up, they take a schedule and things like that, if it's possible, even opening just 2 days a week, 3 days a week. Apparently you have to go every second day. I don't know if, and I'm sure you look at those options, Stefan. So I think you're doing a super good job. I have nothing to do with that, but I've been receiving a few emails about when it will open, and some were not. They were really mad about it. And I mean, at some point of time, you have to say it the way it's safety first when it comes to that. So I do understand that, and thank you very much for your work. And there's a lot of noise, so I don't know. I think it's the phone line, and I think Rolly's on the phone right now. And maybe if you could put it to mute, because there's a lot of noise coming since he's in with the telephone.
Okay, yes, I'm on the telephone. I lost connection with the computer, but I am on the.
Okay, and
Okay,
that's okay, but can you put it on mute, because there's a lot of noise.
Okay.
Thank you.
We
There
can
you
say
go.
at least.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Elise. Councillor Rowley? Councillor Rowley, are you back on?
Yes, I'm on, yes.
Okay, can you have any comments or questions?
No comment, no comment at all. Everything's okay.
Okay, Madame Lamar? Madame Lamar, you're on mute.
Sorry. I said, thank you for the report. Thank you for staggering the reopening of various facilities. Just a quick question here. The Verner Fitness Center, is it still in the plans that it's going to be relocated from the Verner Arena Hall to the municipal building? Because we wanted to make sure that the fitness center was accessible to everyone, because of the Verner Arena Hall. It's not au deuxième étage, and there's a lot of stairs to go up to, and it makes it challenging. So do we have a forecasted timeline of when the relocation will occur?
So for you, Mr. Chair, that was one of the capital projects that we took off the list for 2020. So when you recall, we had to scale it back down. at budget deliberation, and along with a couple outdoor rink projects that we were planning, the relocation of the fitness center in Verner will be pushed back to the council's deliberation for a 2021 discussion.
Okay, if I may, Conseiller Leo,
Yes, of course.
we never have staff upstairs, so it means, are we gonna get another update at our next community services committee meeting? So we know exactly what the plan would be with the Verner Arena and what the plan will be with the Verner Fitness Center?
We certainly can come back once we have more information to share and how potentially it could work. And that's one of the reasons we're recommending the fitness center remain closed in Verner, is because of those logistics. It would mean for us to have, I know we didn't in the past, it was just allowing members to access the facility while the arena was open and being able to use the gym. But with COVID, all the protocols have changed. We basically have to ensure contact tracing. We have to have staff on hand to make sure that the equipment is disinfected and ensuring everyone. So those protocols and the guidelines make it difficult to have a facility open without having staff in there to ensure everyone's safety and contact tracing as well.
Okay, so we'll get an update in a month from now.
Yeah, we will certainly come back. Absolutely.
Okay, and I do hope that, let's say, for example, I'm just stating worst case scenario, depending on the availability of interest based on local clubs that we have and so on, that, anyway, we'll have that discussion in a month from now. No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, one more question there, Stefan. If you're having aerobics every second day or third day, will that be half price for the members, or?
Can you repeat the
Look at
question,
that.
Counselor? I'm not sure I'm following.
Well, if we're gonna have like aqua aerobics every third day or second day, whatever. So right now they're going every day, so they're paying so much per week or per session, whatever. So would that be the same thing? Would they get a half price, or
No.
can they go every day?
What we're going to be proceeding is we're going to ask everyone to buy a membership, whether it's a membership at the pool or at the fitness center. Before people actually buy into a membership, they're going to know exactly that month which programs and activities are going to be, and then people can decide whether they want to join as a member or not. We can't have walk-ins anymore, so you're going to have to be a member, because that way we have everyone's contact information in case there's an outbreak.
Yeah.
That being said, we're recommending the fees stay the same, but we will not be offering anything more than a 1 month membership at this time.
Oh, okay.
So everyone that want to continue on either pool or gym will have to renew their membership every month.
Okay.
Just the,
Thank you. Madam Mayor, yes?
point of order, there seemed to be a lot of distraction. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I can hear it also, Madam Mayor.
It's a phone, it's a phone. That's Rolly still on,
I think, oh, yes.
Okay, Councillor Rowley, are you on mute right now? Okay, I can't hear. And why would we have some councillors that are being blocked during the meeting? To me would be like, if we have our meeting in person, if one needed to abstain or leave the meeting, they would ask to be excused. So I don't know, is it because of the mute, the blocking, what's creating the wave? Where at the beginning it was so clear and we had no interruption, and now we're having interruption.
I don't know, Madam Mayor, because I mean, I can't answer that, because now I can see almost everybody. Instead, the only one missing is Rolly, actually.
And Councillor Chris, he's been going on and off.
Yeah, I turned my camera on.
There, yeah, he's there.
Just appreciate it during the meeting as council, that if someone needs to abstain, just give a sign. You know, just say that you need to leave, whatever, because it would be the same thing as we're doing business in council chambers, and it would be courtesy to us. And we don't have to figure out what's the background noise that we're experiencing. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Mayor, I see somebody's on the phone. That's all I can hear. Okay, Councillor Elise, yes?
Well, the problem has been happening as far as the noise, not leaving the meeting because we can do that at any time. It's the phone. As soon as Rolly came in on the phone, and right now he's not on mute. So
And-
maybe,
I can't see him either.
well, I see the phone, so, and we know that when he's on mute or not, and that's the only time that we hear all that friction at the back is when he's not on mute. So right now, see, everything is okay. So I just saw this little 3 button that he pressed mute. So that's one of the issue. The rest, I cannot solve it when we get up to go to whatever we need to do, but. So
I
it's
guess we're working on a trial basis, I guess. We'll have to fix the bugs, I guess.
That's right. Okay,
Okay, thank you,
uh,
Madam Mayor. That's it for me. Back to you.
Thank you, Councilor Bill. Greatly appreciate it.
Hello. Hello, Rolly.
Okay. Because we see an icon here that says 758-6899 is talking. So is that because it's using the phone, on phone for the meeting, or is it because there is a discussion that's taking place? Okay, much better. Now we see talking again. But hopefully okay, so procède avec le prochain comité, next committee.
Call his name. Joanne, call Rolly's name.
Conseiller Rowley. Councillor Rowley. Okay. I don't know if I should assume that he's disconnected or on the phone line or on mute.
He's on the phone line because he can't.
Yeah,
Lost his-
Okay, so I'll pass it on to, so we can move on to the next committee, sewer and water, and I'll pass it on to the chair, Conseiller Dan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What we have in front of us is a request from the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 225 for a water and sewer rate, waiver. And that stating that they've been closed for a long period. They've had nobody in the place since mid-March. And they're asking if there's any appetite from council to waive the amount that they pay for water and sewers. I did some research, and that I think I'm pretty sure on this. They are the only social group in the community that owns their own building, and that they essentially pay for the water and sewer. The other groups are either in a rental situation or they're where they don't pay directly. So I guess what we're looking for is an appetite to see whether we're willing to forego their water and sewer rates. So I'll open it for debate, and I'll start with Yvonne.
You know, as you know, the Royal Canadian Legion is something special that I truly believe in, and that they do need a little bit of help. It's a group that's been struggling for many years with respect to trying to keep open. Things have not been favorable to these people. We are talking people that have been in world wars and whatnot. It's certainly hard to speak when Councillor Rowley.
You may not understand.
Councillor
Hello,
Rowley.
you hear me? You hear me?
Councillor Rowley,
Hello?
put it on mute, please. Put it on mute. Thank you. Put it on, because there's a lot of background. So, Dan, I do agree. Maybe we can do something for the Royal Canadian Legion. Other people have been struggling. They've been empty buildings, empty restaurants, and they've been paying their bill. And it's certainly hard to look at with respect to the cost and no revenue coming in, I think we should probably seriously look at trying to help these people. To me, they're in need and they're a good group. They work hard for what they have. So that's how I feel about the Royal Canadian Legion. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Councillor Yvonne. Councillor Chris?
Absolutely no problem. Give the Canadian Legion the relief they're looking for water and sewer. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Councillor Rowley?
Yeah, no problem with it, bud. No problem, Councillor, hey, but
Thank you. Councillor Leo Millet?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I'm the same thing. Yeah, let's help them out. Thank you.
Mayor Joanne Savage?
I definitely concur when Mrs. Richer sent me the email. I just wanted to ask if we had an approximate dollar value, because they're asking for relief effective mid-March, and they're still not in the opening stage. So are we looking to provide relief up to a specific date with reconsideration, or is it indefinite? I concur, because it's the only group, the Legions, a lot of them are vulnerable, subject to closure. They're probably the only group that did not get any financial support during COVID from any level of government.
After we have a discussion around the table, I was going to proceed to ask, and quite frankly, we have the majority of the people that agree. I was going to ask staff to make contact with Madame Richer and determine what period of time that she's looking at, and to give us an idea when she thinks she's going to reopen. So perhaps I'll continue. Councillor Denis.
Now, I wasn't finished.
Go ahead.
Conseil Dan, Mr. Chair, you know what? Right now, they're not opened yet. So I would make the recommendation on the table that we give them the relief from the month of March to the month of September. And if they remain closed due to COVID beyond the end of September, that they can submit another request to council for further relief.
I don't think we're saying anything different, Mayor Joanne. Basically, what I said was that, I'll reiterate what I said. I said that what we would do is ask staff to discuss with them and that we would approve what they came back with. So can we move on, Denis, Councillor Denis, to be fair?
Hey, Councillor Dan, I agree that we should give him a break and just the break, and I have nothing against that, and I support that 100%. For as long as they need to have a break, we should give it to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lees?
Well, I definitely agree with that. I think everything has been said, but we know that small business that was renting had relief from the government, and they still do. And am I mute or what?
No, you're good.
Okay, and I know that any business, small business, had help from the government that was open, but this is very different because they own the building, obviously. And I mean, I think the average they're not client, but membership members are not in the youngest generation. And so I think it's going to be a while, and they might, we have to face it. There's some business that will never be able to reopen after COVID. So I agree that till this is March, we go to September. And after that, the same like you've done, Councillor Dan and Mayor were saying, to revisit with them, because I think they're a valuable asset to our community. They've been part of it for as long as forever, I guess. So I do agree with giving them the relief that they're asking for. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We came to a consensus, and I guess what we're going to probably proceed with is ask staff to look at it from mid-March till September. And perhaps what we can ask them to do is, if they don't open by September, that they come back to us and resubmit. But I think it's onus on us to contact them and see, because they may be in the process of thinking of reopening too. Because I think there's other organizations that are thinking of opening. We've seen a couple this week that have determined that they're going to be reopening, social groups. So perhaps the Legion is going to be following suit. So let's ask staff to do it, and then we'll have a conclusion from that. So that finishes my part of the agenda. Thank you.
Merci. On procède avec la partie régulière de la réunion conseil with the regular council meeting, and we move on to planning.
Who are you asking?
Planning.
So you need,
Mélanie,
Mélanie, ton speaker. Mélanie?
the mute.
the mute button. Put it on. The mute button.
Sorry, I minimized myself so that I could write the minutes and I lost the screen. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
Mover and a seconder, please, for these two resolutions, if I could. Anybody?
Paul?
Yvonne?
Chris will do it.
Chris?
Please.
It is moved by Councillor Duhaime and seconded by Councillor Fisher. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2020-47 being a deeming bylaw to designate lots 41 to 45 registered plan 36M 598 not to be lots on a registered plan of subdivision shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
Are there any objections? None? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Fisher and seconded by Councillor Duhaime. Whereas on May the 16th, 2017, Council for the West Nipissing Municipality granted approval for a draft plan of subdivision for 5 lots and 2 blocks on lands legally described as part of Lot 12 Concession 4 in the geographic township of Hugo to Yves and Zian Roy. And whereas the applicant is seeking an extension of the approved draft plan, it therefore resolved that Council for the West Nipissing Municipality hereby approves the requested extension of the approved draft plan of subdivision to Yves and Zian Roy until August 11, 2023, allowing the applicant time to complete the required work in order to meet the set terms and conditions.
Okay, are there any questions or comments? Those in favor, any objections? Conseiller Dan? Mute.
I was raising my hand to say I agree.
Oh, okay. So no objection, carried. On procède avec les courriers comptes, correspondence and accounts.
Do someone want to move and second this section of resolutions, or do I want to do them one by one?
I can do it, Mel.
Okay, Sir Lees
Hey, Leo.
and Leo. Okay. It is moved by Councillor Lee Senegal and seconded by Councillor Leo Mallette. Be it resolved that the minutes of the special meeting of council held on June the 3rd, 2020 be adopted as presented.
Any questions or comments? No? Any objections? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Mallette and seconded by Councillor Senecal. Be it resolved that the minutes of the meeting of council held on July the 14th, 2020 be adopted as presented.
Are there any questions or comments? I do have one section that I just wanted to make sure that it was clear. Not who said what, but what was the outcome. Under D3D, if you look at the top of the page, the outcome saying that the mayor agreed to go to the media, the mayor agreed based on conditions.
Which, we are in July 14th?
That's right. Because I remember the discussion ended that way.
Oh,
And
D3D, okay.
yeah, and I did make reference to 2 conditions. And one of the conditions was that one of the counselors go back and clarify statements and to adopt a communication policy. I was also challenged on the fact that we have a communication policy, but we don't. So I'm not looking at having tout le pedigree de toute information, mais je veux juste que ce soit clair qu'il y avait possibilité de retourner à la média basée sur des conditions. Point final. So, any objections to the minutes being amended in that way? On dirait que,
Madam Mayor, what is your question? I didn't understand.
I was making reference to the section D3D to amend the final portion, which is on the second top, on the top of the second page, where it stated that the mayor agreed to speak to the media and to qualify. I did not agree. I stated I would return to the media based on 2 conditions. And if you listen to the meeting on live stream, that's exactly how the discussion concluded. So I'm proposing that change to reflect. And I'm not looking at who said, she said, I'm just looking at the facts. Any objections? Carried.
Okay, it is moved by Councillor Malette and seconded by Councillor Senecal. Lise, be it resolved that the minutes of the meeting of council held on July the 21st, 2020 be adopted as presented.
Any questions or comments? I don't know if it's appropriate at this point, but I just wanted to make sure there were 2 items that we had discussed for Public Works, and that council was in agreement with D4B pertaining to the intersection where everyone identified that it's probably one of the most dangerous intersection at Corsol and Front Street, that there would be a report that would be brought back to council. I just want to make sure that that report does come back to council at the next Public Work Committee meeting.
Mel, I can elaborate on that. I've been speaking to Sean about the issue, and we are putting something together in detail so that we can present to councils that could be well explained and understood. And it's still a going file, so a report will be done.
Okay. And if I may, before calling a vote to the resolution, there was also the issue about the breakdown for the Integrity Commissioner billing by complaint. That was a request by Councillor Chris. And then staff was to communicate directly with our IC for a report. The IC would have probably wanted to be providing the report in person to council, but unfortunately due to COVID, that didn't occur. The report was shared to all members of council from our clerk because it was received by email. However, that report needs to come at a next meeting so we can review it, adopt a resolution, and make it public according to the Municipal Act. Mélanie?
Through you, Madam Chair, I did receive confirmation earlier today from Mr. Cormier that he is available for the 15th. So he has been scheduled for next meeting.
Oh, okay. And I would imagine, is it going to be Zoom conferencing?
He will
Or
be Zoom. He'll be on Zoom like the rest of us.
okay, perfect. That answers that question. And my final comment to the minutes, D1B, unauthorized legal expenditures. I just want to make sure that the description of why those expenditures were encountered are highlighted in the minutes. It makes reference that a council member contacted the municipal lawyer. I'd like it to be more precise. It is the mayor. Council had requested, had made an action, made a decision. They wanted a specific legal interpretation on the subject matter.
I think you're rewriting the minutes, your worship.
Well, I'm not saying how to write
Yeah,
it.
you are. So
Well, read the minutes and it doesn't reflect. And I remember at the meeting, I did describe
no,
exactly.
you're getting a little more definite, but we'll have a look at the minutes. But I think you're rewriting the minutes.
Well, maybe that's your opinion then, Jade, but it doesn't really highlight the reason why the member who is the head of council that asked for clarification with our municipal lawyer. So I'm making a recommendation that it does describe the scenario.
So if you have agreement from your council, then perhaps the minutes could be reflected. If you don't, then they won't be changed.
Because that was the subject matter that was discussed. And minutes should reflect the action item.
Well, the minutes as they're tabled right now are tabled. You're asking for an amendment. If council wants to agree to the amendment, they can.
And that's what
Typically, we don't rewrite the minutes, but.
That is what I am proposing. I'm proposing that the minutes reflect the action item that was discussed. And I'm even suggesting to describe the scenario, but I'm asking the question. And I think the question lies with member of council if they agree or if they don't agree.
One question, Madam Mayor, point of order. Councilor Leo?
Yes,
So the minutes are from the clerk, so it's the clerk's minutes, is that right? And it's ours? It's the clerk's until it's approved by us, right? So actually, it's the clerk's minutes, not ours, until it's passed.
but the minutes reflect the action item of council of the subject matter that was debated. But I'm highlighting it because when I was reading it, it doesn't. So that's why I'm just putting it on the table and proposing the amendment. And if there's not majority that concurs, fine. But I think everyone has the right to identify an issue that they think does not reflect the action item that we dealt with. So based on what's being proposed, I'm just going to ask, would there be majority or who would be in favor that the minutes reflect exactly the action item that was discussed?
Put it to a vote.
That's what I'm doing. So
Go around the table.
any objection?
I object.
I know.
Carried. One objection.
No, I object
No.
also.
No,
I
you
object.
didn't go around the
Madam-
table. You did not go around the table, Madam. Not carried.
Conseiller Dan, just a second here. There's background noise and I just want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity. Okay, I'm just waiting for the background noise to stop. I've asked for a vote, same as I've done before, but I don't mind. I'll do a round table. I have no objection. I'm just highlighting an issue. So Conseiller Yvonne,
All that's being asked here is that the action item be put on the agenda. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's not gonna hurt anything. So I agree, yes.
Conseiller Chris,
I don't perfectly understand. Are you saying you just want to change the word council member to mayor? Is that the only change you want? I don't get it.
as the chair summarized the circumstances by which the council member contacted the municipal lawyer and raised concern about the member having incurred costs on behalf of the municipality without any authority of the rest of council. Council discussed the matter and several indicated that members of council should not be allowed to contact the lawyer without direction. However, it does not describe the member that communicated with the municipal lawyer and the explanation that was provided. And that evening, I did say as head of council, council had taken an action at a previous meeting. And due to the fact that they weren't getting clarity on the information that was required for the meeting, the head of council contacted the lawyer. So you know what? If you want to put it down that way, please do so.
So I don't object to you to changing council member to head of council, but the rest I would object. Thank you.
Okay, so you object. Conseiller Leo,
Yes, the same thing as Chris.
Conseiller Louis,
I object.
Conseiller Denis. Well, you know what, there's already 4,
I have no objections anyways.
okay, and Conseiller Alice. You're on mute. Continuez. J'ai bien compris ce qu'elle dit. Couldn't hear you, Lise.
What about now?
Now,
Can you hear me?
yes,
Okay, well, first of all, I mean, I don't think you're asking too much. I think there were a valuable reason why you did call. So, and I mean, it's clear that the next 2.5 years going to be fun because I mean, so I do not object the change because the action taken, you had a reason to do that and it was not proven that it was illegal, whatever expense. I think you did it following a consulting. So let's go on. And the last one to vote, so gotta go on. So
okay, so majority, it stays as is. That section will stay as is because there's 4 objections.
yeah, that's it.
Okay, so we move on to F4, the minutes of the Planning Advisory Committee.
It is moved. Hang on a second. It is moved by Councillor Fisher and Councillor Millet and seconded by Councillor Lee Senecal. Be it resolved that the minutes of the West Nipissing Planning Advisory Committee meeting held on March the 9th and July the 20th be adopted.
Any questions? Any objections?
Is it carried?
Yes.
It is moved by Councillor Lee Senecal and seconded by Councillor Mallette. Be it resolved that the minutes of the following boards and committees be received. West Nipissing Committee of Adjustment, June the 23rd, 2020 and July the 20th, 2020.
Any questions? Any objections? Adoptee, carried.
It is moved by Councillor Mallette and seconded by Councillor Lee Senecal. Be it resolved that the accounts payable disbursement sheets for June 2020 be received as presented.
Are there any questions pertaining to the disbursements?
Yes, I do.
Conseiller Denis?
I'm just gonna go to page 10. Just curious what Seguin did on the Living Fire Hall. So that would be page 10, line whatever, 387 for 8,200. Living Fire Hall.
I'll take that if I can.
Lisa?
Yeah, I actually will have to go back and take a look at the invoice for you. I know they were finishing up some work from last year, but I don't know the answer off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you.
You're gonna get back to us, or?
Yeah, I can send even just an email to council when I've looked up what it is for sure. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, if there's no objections, carried. On procède, avant de procéder avec la nouvelle, puis new business, before proceeding to that, We're already at the curfew, so we would have to adopt a resolution to extend our curfew. Would there be a mover and a seconder? Conseil Yvon, is there another volunteer?
Chris will do it.
Conseil Chris,
Moved by Councillor Duhayman, seconded by Councillor Fisher, that curfew be extended to 10 o'clock.
no objections, adopté, carried. On procède avec les affaires nouvelles.
May I have a mover and a seconder for the resolution for the noise exemption? Denis?
Leo?
Leo? It is moved by Councillor Denis Senecal and seconded by Councillor Mallette. Whereas a request was received from Jenny Seguin and Nicolas Desormier seeking council's authorization for an exemption of the West Nipissing Municipal Noise Bylaw in order to host a wedding celebration, be it resolved that council authorizes the exemption of the municipality of West Nipissing's noise bylaw for a wedding celebration requested by Jenny Seguin and Nicolas Desormier, which will take place at 280 Piana Road in Sturgeon Falls on September the 12th from 4 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Any objections? Carried, adopté.
Mover and a seconder for the next resolution.
Yvon,
Well,
Is
seconder,
there
please.
Conseil Denis?
It is moved by Councillor Duhayman, seconded by Councillor Denis Senecal. Whereas council has sought legal advice pertaining to human resources investigation matter, and whereas there will be ongoing legal expenditures with respect to same, be it therefore resolved that council authorizes the head of council to authorize and approve the following invoices payable to Weaver Simmons LLP. Invoice number 939842, May 20th, 2020, in the amount of $72.32. And invoice number 937846, February 21st, 2020, in the amount of $1,916.48.
Any objections? Adopté, carried.
Resolution for industrial park, mover and seconder.
Yvon,
I can do it.
Please. It is moved by Councillor Duhayman, seconded by Councillor Lee Senecal. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2020-48, being a bylaw to accept and dedicate lands for public highway purposes and to name the roadway in the township of Springer, shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed for Industrial Park Road.
Any questions or comments? Any objections? Adopté, carried.
Support, new mover and seconder for resolution for letter of concurrence. Councillor Lees. Councillor Denis. It is moved by Councillor Lee Senecal and seconded by Councillor Denis Senecal. Whereas Northern Rigging and Tower Maintenance Limited wishes to erect a freestanding 96-meter self-supporting telecommunications tower on a site located near Point Road in the township of Hugo, to meet the needs of high-quality, high-speed internet services in West Nipissing. And whereas Northern Rigging and Tower Maintenance has complied with the municipality of West Nipissing's policy number 2012-407 for establishing telecommunication towers and antenna in circulating notice with regard to the construction of the proposed tower and by holding the required public consultations. And whereas Northern Rigging and Tower Maintenance is required by Industry Canada to consult with the land use authorities and obtain a letter of concurrence, be it therefore resolved that the Council for the West Nipissing Municipality approves that the municipality has issued a statement of concurrence to Northern Rigging and Tower Maintenance Limited for the proposed freestanding telecommunications tower near Point Road in the township of Hugo for delivery of high-speed internet services in West Nipissing.
Any questions, comments? No objections? Carried, adopté.
Mover and seconder for the financial reports. Leo.
Yvon,
No. It is moved by Councillor Mallette and seconded by Councillor Duhayme. Be it resolved that the 2020 second quarter variance financial report for the municipality of West Nipissing be received as presented.
Alyssa, did you want to provide an overview of the actual report?
Sure, especially given that you know, the COVID and everything that's going on here. So usually at this time, you know, I can give you, you know, all looks good, and there's still a lot of unknowns as we roll through even the fall and even the sort of the couple months past the end of June where we were when this report was prepared. When you look at the stuff, when I talk about COVID impacts and I talk about revenue that's at risk, it's not that I think that we're going to lose all of that revenue. It's just that I'm not certain 100% can say, yep, we're going to go get all of that. We're going to go get all of that. You can see a lot of it is tied to recreation and the rest sort of tied to general government. You know, and those are obviously the two departments that are more impacted by the various things that had shutdowns and COVID and the choices that we've made for the municipality. So this was, again, prepared for August. So before we got that announcement on the sort of phase 1 COVID funding that the province and federal government are offering up for municipalities. So we did receive that notice mid-August that we are kind of in phase 1, have sort of $900,000 that is applied to sort of COVID losses and COVID related expenses. So some of this is not going to look as bad at the end of the year as it is right now. So if you keep in mind that we already adjusted our budget fairly substantially because we got caught in that, you know, not having a budget as we came into COVID. So that was good and bad. But we are looking at a huge possibility of ranges of where we could end up from this point. And I wouldn't like to usually give you such a wide range, but as I said, there's just a lot of unknowns still on where we're going to land with those user fees within recreation. So, you know, we could have a break even. We could be looking at a substantial, you know, $500,000 deficit, which that COVID funding would help offset. So like I said, I wouldn't usually give you such a wide range, but there is just so much that's still unknown. Certainly your council's agreement tonight, as far as what the start dates are going to be for the various facilities, will give us a little bit more certainty as we roll through into the final quarter. We'll start to see how things go. But it certainly is a very challenging year, and that's mostly what the sum of this is. As we get more information on that COVID funding, you know, the government has suggested that they may give us a bit more guidance on that. Then we'll certainly bring that back to council as well. But it is actually at this point a very welcome relief to have got that announcement about that funding to help municipalities get through this period.
Thank you, Alyssa. That's greatly appreciated. Are there any comments, any questions pertaining to the report? Okay.
Please.
Conseil Alice, you're on mute. Okay.
No, you're on mute, Lise. You're still on mute.
Okay. Alicia, thank you very much. So what I hear is it was good news that the announcement that was made that the government. So if we start the facility and you're talking about with what we have right now, like $500,000 deficit, but it would be covered by what the government had said so far. So yes, you cannot make a call what's going to happen, but I mean, it could have been a lot worse if that announcement would have been made. I don't think you would have been that cautious. I think you would have seen what it was happening, right? Really could happen. So am I wrong to think that as much as it's not good, or maybe it's not going to be the best, but it's not going to be as worse as you were thinking before you heard that announcement?
Well, certainly that announcement did make me feel a little better. Absolutely. You know, it's certainly going to help 2020 substantially, you know, and that funding, whatever we don't use in 2020, we are allowed to sort of carry over for COVID related. And that's going to be the challenge again as we roll through the fall when we start to talk about 2021. As you mentioned earlier, you know, this is going to change the landscape of our businesses. It's going to change the landscape for not just this year, but going forward. But you're absolutely right. That announcement helped me feel better for sure.
Okay, thank you very much, Alicia.
Okay, no, thank you so much. So we have a resolution to adopt the report.
To receive the report, yes.
Receive the report. Councillor Elise, you're on mute.
Well, I showed my hand. I'm okay.
Oh, okay. Well, just to proceed with the report, receive the report. There's no objection. It's carried. Adopted.
Mover and a seconder for the resolution for the Champlain Bridge.
Yvonne,
Leo. It is moved by Councillor Duhaime and seconded by Councillor Mallette. Be it resolved that the Mayor and Chief Administrative Officer be authorized to sign an agreement with Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Transportation with regard to the detailed design for the Front Street / Champlain Bridge rehabilitation in the municipality of West Nipissing.
Any questions or comments? Good news, 113,000 funding for this project. If there's no objection, carried. Adopted.
Resolution for Bélanger Street. Mover and seconder.
Yvonne, Lise,
It is moved by Councillor Duhaime and seconded by Councillor Lee Senecal, whereas quotations were received for the construction, design, and contract administration of the Bélanger Street reconstruction, and whereas 3 quotations were received on August the 19th, 2020, and whereas the quotations have been reviewed with municipal staff and the award being recommended herein consists of the best prices meeting all specifications, and whereas council concurs with the recommendations received, be it therefore resolved that the quotation for the construction, design, and contract administration of the Bélanger Street reconstruction be awarded to Tulloch Engineering, having submitted the lowest quotation of $61,000 plus HST, meeting all specifications.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Elise, you're on mute.
Yes, and now I'm not. I got a couple of questions about that. So it's just for the design. So can somebody, maybe, I know that we don't have Sean here, but can answer if the work will be starting this year? That's my first question. So is there anyone that can answer that?
whatever it is.
Councillor Yvonne?
First and foremost, the design is going to be awarded, and then there'll be procedures into establishing what has to be done. And once that's established, it would be brought forward to council to advise them. And then we'll probably be trying to get some bids on doing the work. And then council will have to accept whatever, and then we'll proceed from there. But at least it's starting, and it's going to be moving forward. And because some work with respect to, we thought we could resurface the road, but there are water and sewer problems on that road that Mr. Ming had brought forward. So we do have to proceed this way in order to get an exact outline as to what has to be done. But it is going to start, and there will be work done on that road in the near future.
Okay, can I proceed with another question, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Okay, my next question is I don't know if it's part of the design, but I had Sean answer a few questions for me that resident had, but will they plan in the design to, to have the ditches fill, or it's gonna remain like that? That's a question, because there's a lot that the ditches is pretty like big. So I don't know if it's part of the design or if anyone can answer that right now, maybe later on, but it's just that I don't want to forget to ask about it. So I don't, Yvonne, I guess.
In general, when the ditches are exposed, it's maintained as such. But Sean did mention that if council approves it, that we should look at the possibility of installing because it's basically a main street, installing a sidewalk. So council will have that opportunity when the subject matter is brought back to the table to see as to what we want to see done on Balashi. But as far as the ditching, that's a different scenario that we tend not to go into because of the process is different and somewhat. And I'd rather have Sean explain it better in details, but he did mention that the possibility of putting a sidewalk. So if we put a sidewalk, there may have to be some ditches filled. But let's let Sean look into this matter. Maybe Jay has more to say to it.
Well, when you cover when you cover ditches, obviously a little bit like the sewer and water, you need to have environmental approvals from MOE, and so you need to go to approvals branch, because then it becomes a system. And if you're only covering or replacing one that's already there, you don't need an approval. But when you're redesigning an entire road, you need an approval. I think MOE right now is extremely slow in providing approvals, and there's some serious delays. But I guess it would change the scope of the work and increase the cost. Absolutely.
Thank you.
So can I proceed with on that comment?
Well,
Please.
yes, Councillor Elise?
Okay, because following that comment, so what I'm hearing or reading between the line is that it would be, the cost would be higher, so the chance for it happen is very slim. I don't want to, to have them false hope. So the way you explained it, this is what I got from your explanation, Jay. Am I wrong?
No, you're right, and there's a lot more red tape in terms of actually getting
Okay.
the work done.
Well, like I said, I don't mind giving them an answer because that's the answer that need to be provided without saying, well, is a hope. So thank you very much, Jay, and thank you.
Okay, so we're giving so everyone is in agreement with what's being proposed as per the resolution. Are there any objections? Adopté, carried. La prochaine résolution était de déterminer de quelle méthode combler le siège pour le quartier numéro 7, resolution to determine process for filling council vacancy in Ward 7 at committee. It was identified 4 members for an appointment and 4 others for a by-election. I guess in fairness, before proceeding, is there any reconsideration of any members pertaining to his or her choice that was stated earlier? None? So that motion is just going to be removed from the agenda for the time being? Okay. The other one is an addendum, which we got pertaining to quotation award. So we're going to need a mover and a seconder for that as well.
Yvonne,
Seconder.
someone else? Denise?
Denise. It is moved by Councillor Duhaime and seconded by Councillor Denis Senecal, whereas quotations were requested for the sanitary force main and water main upgrades from Holditch to King Street, and whereas 5 quotations were received on August the 13th, 2020, and whereas the quotations have been reviewed by the consultant and the award being recommended herein consists of the best prices meeting all specifications, and whereas council concurs with the recommendation received, be it therefore resolved that the quotation for the sanitary force main and water main upgrades Holditch to King Street be awarded to A. Van Egmond Construction 2005 Limited, having submitted the lowest quotation of $889,365 plus HST, meeting all specifications.
Okay, just a quick question, either to Jay or Alyssa. The lowest bidder to the highest bidder, there's over $1 million range. Is there an explanation, like was it an error in the bid, the highest bidder, like nearly $2 million? Or,
You know, I can't speak to, you know, what all the contractors are doing. No, there was not an error in the bid. That contractor tends to bid very high when they bid on our stuff. You know, so I'm not surprised to see that kind of range from that contractor. It's very specific work, and only a few people can do the directional drilling. So some of these other contractors would be having to sub that portion out anyways, which adds to their cost level. Whereas Van Eegman is a directional driller themselves. They've got that specialization. But yeah, the one that bid really high, they typically bid high with us.
okay, and this was part of our capital projects for this year, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? Aucune objection? Carried, adopté. OK, on doit, avant de procéder à réunion à huis clos pour discuter de Unitem, as qui traite disposition of land, Villeneuve Court. This will conclude our open portion of council meeting. And there's two things that I wanted to share with council. I was shared this heartening news today, des nouvelles tristes. Les membres du conseil advisoire du musée de Sturgeon River House ont appris du décès de Monsieur Pierre Leriche. It was disheartening to learn of the death of one of our fellow members on the Museum Advisory Committee, Monsieur Pierre Leriche. Historian, had such a wealth of knowledge, has contributed over, I believe, 20 years as a volunteer on the museum board, and also partager l'héritage et la culture de maintes régions et immeubles de Nipissing West. So anyway, I am sharing this news so we can extend notre compassion envers la famille et les amis. And in
Thanks,
conclusion,
Madam Mayor. It's a shock to me too, because we were on the same board with you and Mr. Leriche, and it's sad to hear because he made quite a contribution to the museum and history of West Nipissing. Thank you.
right. Et en même temps, we've been hearing on the news, on a entendu sur les nouvelles à maintes reprises dans les dernières semaines, surtout le dernier mois avec la réentrée de scolaire et les incertitudes, les sentiments mélangés with mixed emotions. And anyway, I do hope that it is a safe return for all that have decided to return. I want to commend tout le corps personnel de toutes les écoles au niveau primaire, secondaire et post-secondaire. It's quite a change that they're experiencing and living, and that adaptation, and hope that everything works out for the best and that the environment is conducive and stays conducive to everyone's safety. And I'm sure that we'll continue to read up on more information regarding that subject matter. Donc, ceci conclut notre première réunion virtuelle par Zoom. This does conclude our council meeting, the open portion by Zoom conferencing. And again, I want to say thank you to members of council for accepting the participation using this technology. It was great to be able to see everyone, and thank you to staff also for all the work that's been done in being able to coordinate this and doing the testing this morning. And hopefully this will be the direction that will continue until the day that we can resume to normal business. Donc, j'ai besoin quelqu'un, we need a mover and a seconder to be able to proceed into closed session.
Leo?
Dan? Roll it and go. Please. It is moved by Councillor Ravita and seconded by Councillor Lee Senecal. Be it resolved that we proceed into closed meeting as authorized in section 239(2) of the Municipal Act to discuss the following: a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board concerning Villeneuve Court. If you just give me a second, I need to disconnect the live YouTube feed.